First of all, welcome everybody. So happy that you're here. Happiness is a passion project for me. I truly believe that the happier I got, the better I got up here, the better my world got. And I used to think it was the world first, but now I think it's you first and you create the world you're in many ways, right? And when we start this, I really had two main goals, which was to have an impact on somebody and hopefully change their life. And I think there's great things that you can do, and there's lots of different things, but doing it is the most important thing. And so Mike's going to talk about something different than Tavi did and something different than Ali did, but they're all pathways to make you happier. And I think it is a skill. And I know some of the direct feedback I received, we have changed people's lives and we have made people think. And I'm sure that Tavi, I know you've had some feedback, and Chris, and I believe a lot of people don't share feedback, so we've had an impact. And the second thing is, and Chris was sort of, hey, we can do good and do good for business as well, and we can combine those things. And I think that's also proven out. So, we're obviously giving a gift doing these things, but it comes back. And I think the more you put out there in the world, the more things come back to you. So, very excited that in many ways we've accomplished our goals. This is the last one of this series. This is a passion project for me. So, I'm sure in January or February, I'll start thinking about what we'll do for next year, and we will do something for next year, but I'm not sure what that is. But as this is the last one, I want to acknowledge some people who have been very impactful. So first of all, the speakers, assuming Mike, you're not going to screw it up at this point, I'd like to thank all the speakers. So, Tavi, you did a wonderful job. Ali, who's maybe teaching a class right now and shouldn't be on, she did a wonderful job. And Chris, who might be at Danielle, a BDO event at the Great Lakes, and maybe that's why she's not on, and Mike as well. And, everybody knows easiest thing isn't public speaking, right? And then if you add public speaking, plus speaking about yourself, and plus speaking about some of the issues you faced, wow, we've made that really difficult. And so for you and Tavi and Ali and Chris, to really participate in this and do this. So much appreciative of it. And again, I think all of our ideas are great and all of our actions are great, but it's important for our audience to hear different things because what worked for me might not work for you, but you have lots of different examples. So appreciative of the three of you who are here and Chris, and thank you very much. Also, big thank you to Phil, who's always kind of lets me run on my passion projects. This did take resources, and you certainly could say, why are we spending resources on happiness? I don't care about other people's happiness. Let's close deals, right? But Phil has given his full support to this. Phil, is also spending his time here and really appreciate that we're able to use those resources. And then, you wouldn't be here unless somebody invited you. If you were waiting for me to invite you, you wouldn't be here because I probably wasn't going to invite you. So, it's easy for me to speak, and Mike, his main role is to speak. But we all know, and Danielle, you certainly know this, it takes a lot of work to put things on, and it's in many ways easier being the speaker than having to do all the other things. So I also want to acknowledge Lorraine and Yanni. And really, again, this is a passion project. If it was a passion project and I was talking to myself, it would be less exciting for me. And you guys have done a wonderful job of getting people here and doing the invites and doing the million little things, that I have no idea what you're doing, but that had to be done to get done. So very much appreciative of everybody here. Very much appreciative of the audience. Yeah, I see a lot of team members here. Listen and take action. It'll help you get to a better place. For our guest here, thank you so much for spending some time. We really want to make this a gift, right? Give you some ideas to make your life better. And what a gift if we can help make your life better. And I think for Mike and for Tavi and for Chris and Ali and for myself, these things that we're talking about have made our lives better. So this isn't theoretical. This is our journeys and what we've done. So without any further ado, thank you to my team. So blessed to have you. Thank you to the audience. We made an impact, so I feel I accomplished my goals. And without any further ado, I want to hand it over to Mike to talk about his journey and some of the things that have been hugely impactful in his life. And again, Mike, A, don't screw it up, and B, very appreciative of you of taking the journey with us. And so thank you so much, Mike.
No worries, no worries, David. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. And, oddly enough, November is National Gratitude Month. It's the start of the holiday season. People think of their blessings. We have Thanksgiving. What better event a month to have a gratitude, seminar. I think always about Thanksgiving, family traditions. It's just a good time of year. And something I've always done, and it's probably the only time of year that I did it, was Thanksgiving, being very thankful for the family members. We host every year, so we have 20, 30 people. Even though it's chaotic, I'm thankful that everybody's here. I'm thankful I don't have to leave my own home and my own couch to watch football on Thanksgiving and the food. Let's be real about it. But happy to be a participant and a presenter in the Thrive series. I've learned a lot myself and had some great takeaways. This is David's passion project, and a lot of what David did on the first one that we did really resonated with me. And I call David's presentation "Hell is in the Rearview Mirror," because David took some challenges, and once they were addressed, the analogy of it being in your rearview mirror and kind of being behind you, and as you go through life, it becomes further and further away. It's whether the problems are real or perceived, it's something that's a great technique to do, and I learned a lot. Same with the sleepness thing, David. David mentioned in his event that essentially he would wake up 3 or 4 in the morning, and his mind would be spinning, and instead of just sitting there letting it spin, he would get up, start doing something at 3 a.m. to break that cycle. And I did that a couple of times, and it didn't lead to the most productive days, but I didn't sit there spinning my wheels, for hours trying to go back to sleep. But the whole series has been great and impactful. Chris, from the stories we tell and her personal story of pivoting, to Tavi, who, talked about unlocking the power of intent and being intentional, to Ali, who really talked about reducing negative thoughts and living in the present. It's been really helpful. And the beauty of it is that we found that it resonated with a lot of folks just through the feedback we received. So proud to be part of this. I'm Mike Zaremski, and as David said, I'm with PM Human Capital, which is part of Prager Meta CPAs, and I'm excited to talk about the topic.
And one thing, so I didn't do a good job of introducing Mike, and he's obviously a friend because you don't bust on people who aren't your friends. So Mike's leader of Prager Metis Human Capital Solutions, does recruiting, focuses on CPAs and CFOs and people in that finance department. So apologize for that, Mike.
No worries. So, it all begins with what is gratitude, right? Obviously, it's the thought and the process of being grateful, right? Of being thankful. For me, it came through a family challenge. My family was dealing with a devastating challenge that really affected us immensely. It was almost like a setback that had me feeling like I was in a black cloud, a feeling of emptiness and a hole, that a void, just a void in life. And it was hard to be in that cycle. And then I found myself really looking for the negatives in life. And anybody who knows anything about your thought process, when you're looking for the negatives, it's never a good thing, because guess what? You'll find them everywhere around you. But I shifted that, and how the shift occurred was really, really crazy and very obscure. I was on a call with one of my C-suite colleagues, Matt Wallach. I don't know if Matt's here today, but we were talking about the business, our respective businesses, and the ups and downs of recruiting, and how in the recruiting business, you don't have success every day or perceive success every day, by the outcome. So what does that mean? Sometimes you have to focus on the little things, the successes, to make you become more mindful and more productive. So as we were having that conversation, Matt sends me an email that incorporated gratitude into a daily process. And I don't think it came from a place of incorporating gratitude. It came more from a place where Matt and I grew up in publicly traded recruiting firms where planning was paramount to your success, and it was part of your daily diet every day. You had to, any road will get you there if you don't know where you're going. The analogy says so. We really believed in planning. So Matt sends this email, and the title was "Do this for 7 days. Thank me later." Okay, open it up and I look at it, and really it said in the morning, do three things that you're grateful for. And then list your daily goals, short and long term. At the end of the day, look at three wins, no matter how big or small, and sometimes they were personal, truth be told, and lessons learned. And then at the very last point was three things you were grateful for about today and life. So the beginning of my day started with journaling. I wasn't looking at it that way. I was looking at it as planning with a positive twist. But then I started realizing, and my three things that I were grateful for became deeper and deeper just as I progressed, just as you went through this process and these exercises. So um, why does gratitude matter? It makes us happier, right? That's to the place I got, by going through that process. And I thank Matt to this day for really kind of incorporating that into my routine, because it has made me happier, and studies have shown that a single act of gratitude produces an increase in happiness, reduces depressive symptoms, and relieves stress and anxiety. Um, anything that could do that, give you both, make you happier and also reduce stress, to me is a win-win situation. When you start viewing gratitude and incorporating into your personal life, your relationships, it could have a profound effect by people realizing, how thankful you are, no matter how big or small, a task could be, but just the recognition of that, the communicating that you're grateful for it, really could be impactful. In my journey in preparing for this, I came across a book, and it was The Power of Small Habits, right? How a Gratitude Journal Strengthened My Marriage, by Darren Hanley. And I thought it was great, because so many times we forget the people right in front of us when it comes to being grateful and expressing our gratitude. You take things for granted. Just like a nice day, it could be something as little as that, or something as big as, your spouse, a relationship. So we'll go on to the next. So our minds, and I think everybody has spoken of this in one way, shape, or form, we're hardwired to focus on the negative. It's a lot easier to point out what's going wrong than to find something that's enlightening or that you're grateful for. But the more you practice it, the more positivity you'll see. Like I said, the things that you're grateful for will change as you go through the evolution and the process. And gratitude reinforces behavior, and your brain rewards you with happiness. So it really does. And there are studies that have been, and I'll talk about that actually on the next slide. Um, so, in addition to the obvious, right? Your brain, you feel good, right? But there's been many studies conducted on gratitude. And there are three, I really looked at about five in preparing for the presentation. There are two that really resounded the most for me: journaling and happiness. They did a study where they had three groups. The first group of folks in this study had a journal every day, things they were grateful for. The second group, daily irritations. And the third group, neutral life events. The findings were that the gratitude group had a higher optimism and fewer physical issues than the other groups. They also had a greater connection to others. Some of the other studies on gratitude, sleep quality, because of the worry factor, if you appreciate what's around you, you worry less, you're less anxious. And that sometimes, leads to being able to fall back to sleep. Mental resilience, when I looked into that, that was really, really a great study that was done. And there's a theory called the broaden and build theory. And it really suggests that gratitude helps build our internal psychological resources as well as resilience. It actually helps us handle stress better. Um, some of the other studies that were conducted were gratitude and the effect on social connection, health, physical well being, and they were all positive. On to the next. So for me, it started with reflection and planning. The act of writing something down can have a profound effect, but it also helps you follow through and it reinforces. So journaling to me was, and again, when I looked at it, it was planning, it wasn't journaling. It's still part of my plan, but I find myself doing it on the weekends where I really don't have a daily plan, for the day. Meditation is one of the other things. I do this not as frequently, but sometimes taking a moment, taking a walk around the block, closing your eyes, taking some deep breaths, and thinking about things you're grateful for. It could be a person, but really just taking that time in your mind's eye to think about something you're thankful for, to breathe, to focus. And lastly, gratitude letters. Something I haven't done, but I want to do. There's at least 3 people on this call that I would write a letter to, who have been there for me, who I'm very grateful to have in my life. You could do these gratitude letters to a mentor, a colleague, a friend, a parent, your children, your spouse. There's a profound effect that it will have on both you and them. They feel valued, you feel great by really showing that you recognize, um, and you're grateful for what they are and who they are in your life. So starting a gratitude journal, could be daunting, but it could be anything. There's many examples, from a good meal to an act of kindness, to weather, to nature, a family member, somebody or something beautiful that you appreciate. As I talked about earlier, family traditions, holidays. But you could also use it in terms of dealing with hardship. You could look and be grateful for a challenge you've had, how you overcame that challenge, and why you're grateful for being faced with that challenge. That's what it winds up with, where a lot of times we get through problems and we're like, that's behind me. Hell's in the rearview mirror, right? But if you show the appreciation for it, it resonates and it really becomes something very impactful in your life. The next slide we'll go to. Being present, to me, always deepens our experience. The more present you are, if you decide to go through these exercises, it'll become eye-opening. It'll help you become so more in touch with many other aspects of your life, your experience, your surroundings, the people that you work with. And, there's just endless content, when it comes to, if you're mindful of doing it, there's endless content. You could be thankful for the roof over your head. I remember Superstorm Sandy not having, electricity for 3 weeks. We didn't have a generator for the first 8 days. I can't tell you how thankful I was when we got that generator and we could put a light on. We could flush a toilet. It was just, you don't appreciate the little things sometimes until you don't have them. So be mindful of that. Strengthening relationships, right? I think it's a powerful bond, when you are thankful and grateful with people. And I think it really helps when you show appreciation, strengthening your relationships. I mentioned the power of small habits, but think about writing a letter showing gratitude and the positive impact that would have on someone that's important to you. It also gives you the ability to understand and appreciate others, by the response. And, at root, it really resonates with you internally. On to the next. When we think of gratitude at work, the first thing that comes to mind for me is, the servant leadership attitude. And that's saying please and thank you. That's really, it creates so many benefits organizationally if you can incorporate that, or if that's part of your culture. And it's something that you have to work on. But not only does it increase productivity and morale, it reduces turnover, it values people. Sometimes I've sat in reviews where people were, in the accounting industry working till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and the partner would come in the next day and not even be thankful, or the partner would come in 2 hours later. How do you think that felt? What a difference if that partner would have said, hey, I know this really affected your life. I want to thank you for doing what it took to service our client. So to me, if it's in the workplace, it's tremendous. A lot of times, what I would do when I've worked at larger companies is thank the people that were underserved. The people that were the admin support, the people that were keeping everything moving, the people that brought the meals into the staff. And it helped. It made them feel good. It got me to go to those meals that they brought in first. And no, in all seriousness, it really makes people feel good. And there's a tremendous value in doing that. So resilience, I talked about it earlier, how we're hardwired, but gratitude is a coping mechanism. And it supports coping. It enables us to approach a problem versus avoiding it. And it builds our psychological profile to give us, in so many ways, to give us tools to be able to deal with some of the challenges that we face just on a daily basis. So this leads us to, and I don't know that many people saw the initial email. I had asked everybody when we started to list something good that happened to them today. But I think what we're going to do now is go into small groups and do a couple of exercises, or both, depending on how much time you have and who you're with. 1 or 2 things that you're grateful for today, and any takeaways, any experiences that you've had where gratitude resonated with you. With that being said, I'm going to let Yanni do her magic, and off you go.
So first of all, can we all give Mike a thumbs up, because I can clearly say he has accomplished his goal of not screwing it up for us. So, nobody wants to hear that the encore and the last song of the band wasn't good. So I'm glad you left us out in a really good place. So let me hand it back to Mike, and and then I'll wrap it up real quick. Also, while Chris is here, I want to acknowledge her. She's one of the speakers. And again, as I spoke about earlier, heart to public speak about you, heart to public speak about some hard things in your life. So very much appreciative of Chris and every other speaker here as well. So Mike, hit it.
Yeah. So, just a little summary recap. The 3 good things technique we talked about, and thank you, Matt Wallach. That meant the world to me. Visualization, the meditation aspect, just taking some time to think about things we're grateful for. We talked about also the ripple effect it has, when I mentioned gratitude letters, how that makes people feel that we give the letters to, as well as how it makes us feel. The scientific insights into it, I think, if you look and you do some research, you'll see there's a tremendous amount of data that supports how it's good for you. And it's also good for personal growth. That's one thing I failed to mention, not only for external things, but I think everybody has a bias for gratitude with external things, but you could feel it for yourself on your self-development, and that boosts self-esteem as well as gives you motivation. That being said, that's kind of a little bit of a recap. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I really appreciate it, and appreciative of being a part. And if anybody wants any tips, tricks, techniques, or thoughts on it, don't hesitate to reach out directly. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Michael. Great job.
Thanks, Mike.
So thank you, everybody. Take action. Action is what changes the world. You got to know, but then you got to do. Matt could have sent that email and Mike could have not done, and it wouldn't have had an impact. So, when we start this, we talked about real people, real stories, real strategies. You've heard a number of different strategies, a number of different stories. Take action. Happiness makes the world better. And also, happiness makes your
So
world
I have a thing
better.
like Matt
Thank
to
you,
do that.
everybody.